we'll get our political editor Andrew Clennell also, who's been combing through all of this. Look, the retail figures are, a huge dent in them, particularly if you extrapolate them to per capita. So that was the other thing perhaps weighing against this. I don't think there's a sense from this that we're about to see a hike, Andrew, but even on the rosier side, if cuts are next, they do seem like they're next year, and dare I say it, past the election too. This will be what concerns the Albanese government.
A lot can happen. A lot can happen in a year, Tom. I think, look, my reading of this is there won't be another hike. I don't think there will be another hike this year. There's my call for you, Tom. That's why you call me Splinters. But the cuts will take longer to come. So, I mean, the earliest you'd expect it is December, really, a cut, more likely early next year. And a lot simply does come down to this budget. It's a very important budget for that reason. I said on air the other day that Jim Chalmers, when he delivers the budget speech, has Michelle Bullock over his right shoulder, and I believe that to be the case. Look, it's a press conference well worth watching this afternoon that will take you to on Sky News, because you'll get a lot from what Michelle Bullock has to say. It's a decent initiative by Jim Chalmers to have the Reserve Bank Governor front and basically tell homeowners and those with business loans, etc., the reasoning, how they're feeling. This inflation figure that we've just seen, OK, it wasn't great. It's not that far from the budget forecast, frankly. If you have a look at the budget forecasts, what's key now is, do we get this tempering post-budget? And that's why Jim Chalmers is at pains not to overload it with spending. He says there has to be some spending in the out years because growth's going to come down. That makes sense. But the test is not doing too much this financial year. I think it's frustrating for the Treasurer. He'd like to announce more. We already know about the stage 3 tax cuts, and that's their biggest sell. What will the tax cuts do to inflation? What will the wage push by the government do to inflation? We had Tony Burke on Sunday Agenda saying that, admitting that we can't have the wages growth of last year, this year, in terms of interest rates. And that's true too. So it's the soft landing we're all after. It's a bumpy road the last month or two. I think the next move will be a cut. The question is how far away. You wouldn't rule out about a month or two before the election next year. And will that do enough to help the political fortunes, or will the people have suffered so much by then they'll be looking to give the Albanese government a kick?
Yeah, well, one cut doesn't change it really, but it's whether that's the beginning of a few. Momentum always helps. I wonder as well, if you're talking about annual inflation, as each quarter, and we know the quarterly figure is more closely looked at, as each quarter comes out, what's it replaced by? So the next quarter, June last year, was only 0.8, Andrew. The September one was 1.2%. That's just in the quarter. So really we won't see inflation coming down in a major way unless the next two quarters are relatively low, and September is when it would actually come down. So it's going to be a bit of a long hold, assuming, as you say, this is the crucial element, the budget. And, the tax cuts weren't the government's idea, but they are arguably giving them to lower income households who tend to spend them more. So that could become part of the debate if they see more inflation than we're told they will be.
Absolutely. Although in terms of who they're giving those to, I think politically they're on the winning side, and Peter Dutton and the opposition soon realise that, despite the broken promise. But you raise a good point. If you had more tax cuts at the top end, less at the lower end, you're probably going to see less spending. But Michelle Bullock's always at pains to say, in terms of our inflation forecasts, we've put them in the tax cuts. Yeah, but, does it matter if it stays sticky? And the difficulty here is we've seen it stay sticky in the US. So there's kind of precedent where the economic cycle, we're a couple of months behind them, it seems, and they're still not getting rid of the thing. So, yeah, I just think that first rate cut, whenever it happens, will promote a lot of hope amongst people that there will be more. Yeah. So it's a critical moment when that occurs. And I'm probably with you, it's unlikely this year. But I still think early next year, very possible.
Okay.
Then again, the economy can just tank. Let's see what happens.
No, stick with your call. We like it. That's, as you say, why I call you Splinters, tongue-in-cheek, Andrew. So the other hot take on all of this, Ed, is always the markets. What have they made of what they've seen? Not just the whole, but obviously the commentary as well by the RBA.
Yeah, the market's had about 5 minutes now to digest the figures. We can put up on the screen what's happened to the ASX 200. It was up 0.8% before the figures came out. You can see that very end of the chart there, it's jumped by another 0.2%, up to about 1% up for the day. So the market's reading into this that, yeah, what Andrew's saying, the Reserve Bank is unlikely to lift interest rates, but they are going to keep monetary policy at its current level for quite some time. I'd suggest we're going to see quite a few economic research notes coming out over the next couple of hours, probably going with that forecast of rate cuts potentially November, but most likely in early 2025 around the time of the election. We can also show you the Aussie dollar, because the Aussie dollar has actually been reasonably strong over the past few days, around 66 US cents. You can see here it's down very slightly. It's still around that 66 cent mark. So the stock market here is it was pretty positive actually off the back of this decision from the board of the Reserve Bank, and it's very close. We'll definitely have to watch it closely while Governor Bullock speaks at 3:30.
Yeah, indeed. Who knows? You might drop a big hint and send people scurrying. We will see. Andrew, Ed, thank you. We'll let you get away to prepare for that. So 3:30 when we'll hear from the RBA Governor. This new insight we're getting as of the last few months as to what the bank is actually thinking and when we might be getting some rate relief. We'll see.